let's hurt the children today. Let's make some children stew. No, let's harm them. No. You're a man.
Yeah.
Do you sin, Bret? Are you a sinner?
Yeah, slightly more than I'd like to mention. Look, my sin actually shames me. I have done things in my life. After I've done them, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. I am my own worst enemy. When I'm saying these things about, I look at Jesus and see ways, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. That I understand how people could possibly think that, but I think it's more of like a way to try to attack me. No, I am not Jesus. But Jesus is the one who said when he was sending out his disciples, it is enough that you be like your master. So I don't have to be Jesus.
So he told his 12 disciples,
right,
till 11 suffered torture deaths for their faith.
And
he told them to teach like he did.
Yes, and you look at their approach, and they were oftentimes very rough, and they said things that were just very hard. They were very offensive people. Why do you think they were killed? I would say the Apostle Paul was probably the most offensive of anyone. He was incredibly offensive.
Well, he was a murderer of Christians before he became Paul, correct?
Right, and he was forgiven, and all things have passed away. The old is gone, and he is a new creature. And now he has to, from that time, be very careful about not being a hypocrite about it. But that we should be offensive or, look, I am not purposely going in there and trying to be offensive. I'm trying to call them out and reprimanding them for what they're doing. I think the people are flipping the things up on their head. I think it's backwards. They should be terribly outraged by the disrespect that the school has towards their children and the disrespect that the school has towards them, the parents, and not so outraged by the person who is calling their disrespect out for reprimanding them for their disrespect. They're trying to flip it. They're trying to make the culprit the victim and the victim the culprit. The school board, they're not the victims. They're the culprits. The students are the victims. The parents are the victims, not the school board.
Mm-hmm.
People should be outraged by what they're doing. And I understand, let me just ask you a question. Okay. If someone did something bad to your child on accident and apologized, and compare that to someone who does something purposefully wrong against your child and doesn't apologize, who would you be more angry with?
The one who didn't apologize and did it on purpose.
The school is doing this on purpose. They know this is wrong. How do we know they know this is wrong? Because they put it in the student handbook that you cannot give students sexually explicit material. They could be suspended. They know it's wrong. And yet they give it to the students. Really? Do you realize that, wasn't me, but John posted an excerpt from the book that's in curriculum? Facebook shuts him down every time. When I went to the State House to speak, they told us right there, you cannot read that curriculum in this State House. We will remove you.
Curriculum that East Snowball has.
Yes. They told all the school, they did, no, you cannot read this in here. Why not? Because this is live and children can hear it. Really? Yes. We were like, that's our point. That's our position.
Okay.
But I was waiting. Show me a Bible. Here's what I find.
I've got some. Go ahead.
I'm just telling you, I'm online because most of these things I've answered the people online. I had someone tell me that I am of the devil and that the devil is using me and I don't even know it because of my approach. And he quoted to me where Jesus said, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor, And he said, you are not loving your neighbor. And I just thought, well, that's interesting because if you just read the very next passage, it's Jesus reprimanding the Pharisees and calling them serpents, vipers, fools, hypocrites. And I'm like, did Jesus break the first commandment? I think not.
So again, he was reprimanding those who were in authority, who were undermining the truth.
Right, because they are the people that set the morality of their community. They are the ones indoctrinating community, almost like what the school board is doing. And these people were going against clear teaching, offending children, and Jesus wasn't having it. So this is all my position is this. Look, I am mostly nice and I'm mostly respectful. Mm-hmm. But there are times I'm not. And that's what the people who are purposefully, knowingly, with an agenda, and I know it's an agenda, harming the students. And they're indoctrinating the students. They're corrupting their morals. And they're doing it.
You make it sound, though, Bret, forgive me for interrupting.
Yeah.
You make it sound like they're going, let's hurt the children today. Let's make some children students. No. Let's harm them. No. That's how that's coming across.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's more like they're being good little Germans. It's more like I was told by the higher up to do this. These books were selected by the Department of Education. These books come down to us, and if I say something against it, I might lose my job. I might be kicked out. So they're going along with it, and that's terrible.
For their own selfish reasons?
Well, of course. Look, I know for a fact that East Noble received millions of dollars from the ESSER 3 funds. And I know there's
from who?
Government funds, federal funds. It's called ESSER funds, ESSER 3. And I think it's over $3 million that they received. This is a couple of years
ago.
Somebody's
going to fact check you on that.
Yeah, check it out. It's right on their web. I mean, I think you go to the Department of Education and find it right on their website.
Okay.
But it says right there that the stipulation, it's to implement social emotional learning in the schools. And social emotional learning is basically what, is the umbrella for diversity, inclusion, and equity, and critical race theory, and all this stuff. And if you investigate this and study this, this is happening all over the country. But the schools don't want to turn down that money because they get to use this money on a lot of stuff. And it sounds so beautiful. Social emotional learning. It sounds fantastic. As the grades plummet. And all right.
I'm sorry. Hey, I mean, there's so much going on here. I have to get back to your approach in the Bible. Right. So you're taking the approach of Jesus, who was always really ripping into those religious leaders of the day, or those who were undermining.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
That's why I treat those people like that.
Right.
I think that's appropriate. I think when you come across a verse in the Bible that tells you to reprove and reprimand, if it's not talking about this situation, then when? If you are not going to reprimand these leaders of the community who are undermining your children's morality, then Christianity, they might as well just go home, not do anything. Christianity is over with. Why don't they take that verse literally to rebuke and reprimand? Oh, no, you can never do that. Well, of course you can. Well, and that's what Christianity is missing today.
But you're a Bible believer, and the Bible says that we are to have the fruit of the spirits. Yeah. Love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yes.
For those who think that your approach doesn't align with that, what do you say? And let me quote one more scripture, if I could.
Okay. Well, first of all, where is that? What verse is that?
I don't know. I didn't write down the address.
Okay, it's Galatians.
Oh, Galatians.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that's Galatians.
You're aware of it. Okay.
Yeah, because it's Galatians or Ephesians. They both have that. I recognize that in Galatians. Well, why don't they read the entire book of Galatians? Is what I want to know.
What would they learn?
Well, if you read Galatians, which is written by Paul, and I know Paul's approach, Paul starts off Galatians chapter 1, saying, if anyone preach another gospel that isn't the gospel, let him be accursed. And then he repeats himself. So if you're going to preach the gospel of nice, or any other gospel that isn't the gospel, let him be accursed. Well, Paul, that is pretty rough. Basically, let him go to hell. And I'm like, wow. If you read chapter 2 of Galatians, what does it say? Paul confronted Peter to his face. He reprimanded him publicly because he was to blame because of the dissension. You know, the Judaizers were deceiving the people, and Peter went along with it. Chapter 3 of Galatians, what does Paul say? You fools, talking to the whole church, you fools, who has bewitched you? I'm like, wow. You go to chapter 4, has to be the most offensive passage, Paul, to the Jews that you could find. He compares in chapter 4 the law of Moses to Hagar, the slave.
Okay.
This is like our day. Your mama is a slave. It was like the most. Why do you think they wanted to kill Paul? They wanted to kill Paul anywhere he went because he was very toxic, and he did take that very hard approach. But let me just tell you this. When I take this rough approach, I have never told anybody else to take that approach. Everybody has to be faithful to their own conscience. So when people come to me and say, hey, look, I think we should be soft, be soft, but go in there and do it. Don't just criticize me for taking a hard approach. Show me how to do it. If I'm doing it wrong, show me. I want to learn. If all these people who criticize me for being so rough, if 100 people had gone into the school board and talked softly, maybe they could have resolved the problem, and I wouldn't have to do this because I do not want to do this.
Well, let's talk about being soft for just a moment.
Okay.
In Proverbs, it says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word, Bret Carpenter,
Right.
stirs up anger.
Yep.
The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, keeping watch on the wicked and the good. A gentle answer turns away wrath. So apparently, the way you respond to people, you're bringing the wrath out of them.